Hey Crosskart fans, I got all the buggies lined up. I've been wanting to do this for a while to get all three of them together so you can see the differences in them. Today is a hard day. The greatest joy a man can ever feel is the birth of his daughter, and the greatest tragedy a man can experience is not being able to keep his kids safe. A year ago today was my daughter's last day on this earth. She had terminal brain cancer. Her birthday was January 27th, which is why this is number 27. When my world didn't make sense and I couldn't fix anything, my sleepless nights were spent doing something that I could do, and it had to be something involved to keep my mind right, because my mind was not working very well. So when the kids went to bed, and when I was up for hours after, and when I was up hours before they got up, I spent my time planning amazing adventures for a little girl's life who was going to be cut short, and I worked on designing and building one of these, both very, very important for different reasons. Now I'm telling you this because of my motivations and my intentions. I know I'm selling plans and I know I'm monetized on YouTube, but that's not for me. I'm taking half or maybe all of it and donating it to childhood cancer research and giving it to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Now, if you asked Make-A-Wish and the doctors, they would say I don't owe them anything because they're amazing people. But I feel that I owe somebody something for helping us through an impossible time. So if you like what I'm doing, if you like the channel, but you don't intend to build one of these, you can still buy the plans, and half or all that money will go towards charity, so that maybe sometime in the future families won't have to go through what my family went through. I have to get my wife and my youngest daughter something special to make up for the time I spent out here keeping my mind right. Please do not feel obligated to buy the plans. This isn't what this is about. I'm not trying to hawk my plans. This is still just for builders out there that want to make a cool machine and the methods I used to build them. But I just wanted you to know where my intentions were and what I'm doing with the money I make from this. And not to sound crass, but please don't put the I'm sorry for your loss and all that stuff, because it's really, really hard for me to talk about, and all of those are just a reminder that she's not here anymore. I appreciate you guys watching. This has been really great. But this isn't a me talking series. This is a build series, so we're going to get to work. Today we're going to fab up the exhaust for our racing Crosskart. I'm going to take the exhaust from the motorcycle, which is a long can because it's from the 90s. I'm going to cut that down, make it shorter, and make a custom header so that it's removable if we want to put an aftermarket exhaust on. So let's get to work. All right, so step one, assess. Here's our exhaust. Here's the piece we cut off the back. Now, we want to keep this piece intact so that we have a removable exhaust in case we want to put a different exhaust on it, maybe a Yoshi pipe or one of those other fancy loud pipes. But we're gonna cut this one down, so this might end up being a high performance exhaust anyway, who knows. Now, we kind of lucked out with this one. The stock exhaust on this Yamaha Thundercat is very, very thick tubing. So we are going to be able to do whatever we want with this. We're not going to have to worry about burning holes in it. It's going to weld together very, very nicely. All right, you might be able to see it, but that exhaust is going out to the side. We need it to come out straight up through this little pocket and then out the back. I like to run my brake light sensor right off of this caliper, so we need to maintain clearance from that. But if it becomes a problem, this can be moved to a different caliper. All right, so here's where it pays off to think 2 or 3 steps ahead. If we were to take this pipe and put an upsweep on it and then make the connection point on the vertical, there's no way we could get that header back under there because of how it sits. So we need to make our attachment point for the header right here so we can slide it down in here and then back onto the main header. All right, here's our exhaust, and I can already see that there's a few holes in it, so we can patch those up. But our biggest concern is making this straight. Now, all right, so our little mod works out okay. I know it's dark in there, I hope you can see it. So it fits well, but I'm gonna see if I can put a little up kick on it just to make mounting the exhaust a little easier. All right, so you can see down in there, we've got it angled, but if you look at it straight on, you can see if we do an upsweep on it, it's gonna go right for the caliper. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna adjust it to go in a little more and maybe kick it off to the buggy's left a little bit. All right, hopefully you could see in the time lapse how I just slowly brought it over and into exactly where I wanted it. There was no need to rush. Like I've said before, you can take away material, but you can't add material. Now we've got a nice little kick left. So now let's measure what kind of angle we need to clear that caliper. Now I've got this rear block set at the forwardmost point because that's our most limiting factor for clearance for our exhaust. Looks like that angle's gonna work well. Looks like it's 70 degrees, which is pretty steep, but we've got a 90 coming right off the front header since it wraps underneath, so I don't think it's gonna be too big of a deal. All right, so I'm gonna start this off by cutting it right here. Now this is a welded joint, so there's gonna be some overlap. We've got all this weld to work with. There's gonna be plenty of metal in here for us to get our 70-degree angle off of it. But I was right. Look at all of this metal we have to work with to make our 70-degree angle. It actually cut the very tip off of that connector tube. All right, so our exhaust has an inner tube and an outer tube. Hopefully they're not hard connected because I just want to use this outer tube. I don't really associate loud with fast. I associate tuned with fast. So if it comes out a little louder, but we tune the carbs and tune it up to make it sound good, then I will like that. But just running an open header full on loud is not a good sound to me. All right, here's our 3 angled cuts that we made. We can just stack those up. We got a lot of cleanup work to do, but we're up for it, right? Put a piece of flat bar on there. Check the angle. And it looks like we got about 74 degrees, which is a little better than what we wanted. So now we want to clock our exhaust attachment. we want access to this bolt so that we can tighten the exhaust on. We'll mark the top for where we want our angle to start. All right, so there is top. I am so sorry I forgot to hit the start button for the time lapse, but you can just see how I stacked them, aligned it the best I could. There's some gaps here, but we can fill them. This metal isn't the thinnest stuff. All right, so the header is bolted in and tight, so we can know exactly how this is gonna fit up. And that's not as comfy as I wanted it. All right, let's take a quick peek at how our exhaust would look if we did not do any trimming. Now this fits on there just like this. It doesn't stick out too incredibly far, but what this tells me is that since this sticks out 9 inches, if we can somehow manage to take 9 inches off of here, which we have 7 easily, we don't have to cut into this exhaust, which means we don't have to deal with the baffling, we don't have to deal with the wadding. We can just make it work. But we're making this as nice as we can. So let's take a measurement and angle. It looks like we have 3 inches of clearance for the caliper, so we'll probably take 2, check it again, nibble it off until we get it squared in place where we want it, and then we'll work on the can. Alright, so the test fit up. I actually just clocked the front piece a little more. This exhaust has a natural bend in it that will clear our caliper, clear the chain. And I don't know if I'm even going to trim this exhaust. That doesn't stick out too far. I'm going to clamp it in place and have the old 20-foot look on it. See what we see. Yeah, so this is definitely a method to my building where I will get something in position, step way back and have a look at it to see if it looks as bad far away as it does up close. And to me, far away, this isn't sticking out too much. Now, cutting apart a can and re-welding it is 100% possible and really not that bad. The rule book specifies that the exhaust will not stick out past the frame and or bodywork, but if we put bodywork on this, we could easily circumvent that regulation. So it comes time to decide whether to cut the can or just tack weld it how it is. Now the beauty of this is we can go ahead and tack it. We can find a mounting point that's not outside of our frame, and we can revisit it later if we don't like it. So I think I'm just going to tack it, install the whole thing, see if it still fits the way I like it. Alright, so let's check the work. Here is the pipe, and if we're going to use this, we've got a lot of work on welding, but like I said, this tubing is thick, so it's not going to be too hard to fill those gaps and make that junction really, really nice. Alright, let's check it out. Slides in, there's plenty of room all around. Look at that. Man, I was not expecting to get this much clearance all around from this big can. All right, so now I'm going to give you a quick demonstration in stitch welding. If you're using thin material, and like I said, this material is not that thin, so I don't think I'm going to have to use it, but I'm going to demonstrate it anyway in case you have thinner metal. Stitch welding, you turn your voltage, amperage, whatever the setting is on your welder way down. You turn your wire feed way down, and you basically do a series of spaced out tack welds. You let the metal cool, and then you do another series of tack welds between those, let it cool, and then do a third pass between all of those, and then you'll have enough welding wire or tacks that's going to be a thicker material where you can run a full bead all the way around.
if you start to get a hole, don't go chasing it trying to fill it with weld. That's where you want to stop, let it cool, take a fresh start, and then fill your hole. Alright, so let's take a look at the fit up. Slides in nicely. Plenty of clearance all around. Plugging it right in, and look at that. Plenty of clearance from the chain. Plenty of clearance from the caliper. And we have a little bit of adjustment all around that we can set in when we set the muffler holding bracket. Okay, so now it's time to make the bracket. I'm just going to get a scrap piece to help measure it up and figure out where I want the hole versus where I want the hole saw notch. Now I'm going to go from the other side and triangulate it so it's nice and strong. Alright, so we've got our bracket made with the measurement I took. So we're just going to put it in place and double check where we want to make the hole for the bolt to secure the muffler. Alright, the hole is made. This one happens to be an M8 bolt. This is the only M8 bolt I had, so we'll just have to make it work. Once that's in position, you can start lining it up and figure out where you want to get it tacked in. Alright, with the first piece tacked in, you're going to want to take this second piece to triangulate it for strength, get it measured up. If you know how I do tabs, you know that when I make a hole saw cut and flat bar, I get two pieces out of it. So I'm just taking the other piece to measure it up. Alright, let's check our bracket out, see how we did. And looks like it fits absolutely perfectly. It's nice and triangulated, it's nice and flush with everything, sits against the tubing because of the notch, and that's going to give so much strength to hold this muffler in place. Now you want it strong because you don't want to put stress on the header and you don't want it bouncing around. So this is going to be small, out of the way, and very strong. Alright, so let's check out our work. We've got one full Crosskart exhaust all done. It wraps underneath. We have no clearance issues. And it comes out the back perfectly angled. Plenty of clearance from the chain. Plenty of clearance from the caliper. Now, we're not going to be able to run our rear brake light sensor, but like I said, we can just run that from a different source. And I think it looks good. It sticks out a little bit, but I don't think it's too much. It's kind of got that Baja look to it, the straight up exhaust, which I like. We managed to fit the entire muffler within the frame with it only sticking out just a little bit. I think we did really, really well.
Alright, and we've got one full motorcycle exhaust installed on our Crosskart. Now, let me know if you want me to cut this can down to be actually race spec. Obviously, if we put like a Yoshi pipe or an aftermarket pipe on here, it would be a lot shorter and be within regulations. Now, the cost of this exhaust for a Crosskart, $0. I love doing this kind of work. This turned out really, really well, and it really wasn't that much work. A lot of welding experience, a lot learned. It turned out really great. Now, Neil Armstrong lost his daughter to the same thing I did, the IPG. They didn't know what it was back in the 60s, but following his loss, he went to the moon, and the crater he visited is actually called Muffy's Crater because that was his daughter's nickname. Now, if you want to do some good, if you want to help contribute to a good cause, you can share my channel, share my work on Facebook or whatever channels you use to get the word out. Yeah, don't feel obligated to do any of it. I'm still going to do this because it's what I do. But it would be greatly appreciated if we could work together to helping some people out. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for the comments. I'm looking forward to getting this thing going.